What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a great one in store for you on another 2K Tuesday. We are doing the Anthony Edwards career simulation. We have taken over the Detroit Pistons here. As you can see, Anthony Edwards is in the prospect scouting for us out of Georgia. The former Bulldog will be making his way into the NBA, and we will be seeing how he gets along. So you can see here, just looking through his prospect card, but he's a very promising prospect indeed. The mock draft has him going 5th overall to the Hawks currently. A very good draft class overall, but we will get into the specifics later on in this video. Giannis winning the MVP at the end of year 1. No surprise there. DeMarcus Cousins, 6th man of the year. Good for him. Came back from that ACL rather quickly, I would assume. But here we are, just looking at some of the accolades after season 1. Not what the focus of our video is today. We are focused on the career of Anthony Edwards and seeing how he gets along. As a Georgia fan, we are repping our school here. So here's a draft lottery. Skipping through that, Pistons with the #1 odds. I must not have done a very good job controlling them, but we get the 5th overall pick. Pelicans, Knicks, Timberwolves are your top 3, and heading into the 2020 NBA draft, the 1st overall selection for the New Orleans Pelicans will be Anthony Edwards out of Georgia. He goes #1 overall. A controversial pick maybe for some. Wendell Moore, Cole Anthony, a couple of other good names out there, but they go 2 and 3 respectively. And not a bad draft class whatsoever. LaMelo Ball down there at number 10 to the Heat. Cassius Winston going as well. James Wiseman after sitting out his freshman year. But that means Anthony Edwards is getting teamed up with Zion and Brandon Ingram, let alone a few others there. But a young core brewing in New Orleans. What a team this will become. Anthony Edwards starting out as a 78 overall rookie. Not bad at all. He's got the offensive tools to be a monster. Defense has got to come a long way. But I'm sure this young 19-year-old kid is going to make it to the top. The potential is just out of this world for Anthony Edwards. So let's see what he will be looking like on his first season as New Orleans. Looking at the lineup here, they don't have Anthony Edwards starting over Drew Holiday there at the #2, but they do have him coming off the bench with Jackson Hayes, Jeremy Lamb, and Josh Hart. So first season as a rookie, not getting the most playing time in the world, not that big of a deal. His first game in the NBA, drops 8 points, a couple of assists there as well. Not to mention Zion dropped 44 in the season debut. What a game for him in year 2. Cole Anthony, checking up at your halfway point here. Cole Anthony Edwards down in 17th at 8.3 points per game, shooting 44%, 35 from behind the arc. Not terrible, but from the #1 overall pick, you kind of want a little bit more at 80 overall, but he was only about the 7th or 8th guy in the rotation, so not a whole lot of playing time for him there. 69 block shots on the year, shout out to that. But his New Orleans Pelicans, with 1 game left, are fighting to get into the playoffs. LaMelo Ball, though, is your Rookie of the Year. Shout out to him, averaging 11. And LaMelo Ball will make it to the rookie team. But Anthony Edwards, all-rookie 2nd team, the first award of his career. Flying through here the first few years. We got a long career to get through. But New Orleans make it into the playoffs, taking on the Lakers in round 1. And they would advance behind Zion's 25 points. Not a bad day from him. Anthony chipping in where he could. Game 3, the big one for him, chipping in 16 points on 7 of 10 shooting. Not bad for the rook out of Georgia. Going into round 2, New Orleans go up 3-1, and they win a Game 7 against the Nuggets. Game 7, Anthony doing what he can. Going in the conference championship, though, taken out by Ja and the Grizzlies. This young Pelican squad doing everything they could, but it just ultimately would not be enough. Anthony averaging 10 in the playoffs. But moving on to year 2, we get a quick elimination. Anthony Edwards moving up to 82 overall. Going quick through these first few years, not a whole lot was going on. Anthony wasn't playing as much as he should have, but now going into year 3, he will be starting alongside the young Zion and Jackson Hayes. going from 8 points per game to 12 points per game, moving on up. Efficiency wasn't the greatest from behind the arc, but that's okay. Going into the Rising Stars game, Anthony Edwards playing in his second year in the league, starting at shooting guard, 83 overall. So these are just some game highlights. Going in here, getting the steal, getting downhill with it, throwing the reverse jam. Let's take a second look at it. Hanging on the rim, Anthony Edwards throwing it down, getting up. First dunk in the Rising Stars Challenge. Later on here in the game, he gets the open lane, goes again for the reverse. That must be his favorite dunk. Anthony Edwards throwing it down with conviction. Another look there for Team USA. Later on in the game, USA's up big time. Anthony Edwards getting the ISO, calls for the pick, gets a step back, pops a green from behind the arc, showing that he can do it all. Shooting, dunking ability, the high athleticism between the legs, throw down. Take another look at that. Absolutely beautiful. This man needs to be in the dunk contest. He hasn't been in there yet, but we will see. Kyrie Irving winning the MVP. Anthony Davis, Nico Mannion. He had some great plays in that Rising Stars Challenge. But looking here at the awards at the end of the second year, none for our boy Anthony Edwards, unfortunately. But here we are looking at the player stats for the year 3. New Orleans unfortunately gets knocked out by Memphis there in the second round. Tough showing, but Anthony Edwards getting up to an 85 following year 3. Finally getting up to the higher overalls for the man himself out of Georgia. Finally trying to make an impact in this league. Him and Zion, Brandon Ingram, Mitchell Robinson, Mo Bamba, Jackson Hayes. This squad is absolutely stacked. But they would go on and get beaten by the Lakers. Anthony Edwards would be hitting the free agent market for the first time in his career, but he re-signs on a monstrous contract. 4 years, 132 mil, and he's up to a 93 now, getting into the prime of his career at the age of 23, up to a 93 overall. Anthony Edwards getting on his second contract as well. Midway through the season now at the All-Star break of 2025, and as you can see, Anthony Edwards has made his first All-Star game. Looking at that, showing out, first time in his young career at the age of 23, first time All-Stars you can see there, and jumping into the game on Team Luka. Anthony Edwards getting the slam, going downhill. Call back to his Rising Stars Challenge with the reverse. Hanging on the rim. Number 9, Anthony Edwards throwing it down hard. Later on in the game, we get the steal with John Collins. He passes it back to Anthony. Throws the lob up to DeAndre Ayton, showing off all the skills necessary to be successful in the NBA. One last time here, feed the man Anthony. Going one-on-one here, puts up the jump shot, and it's cash all day long. Anthony Edwards got the tool set to be one of the best there ever was. Going up here, throwing down a back scratcher dunk. Absolutely beautiful from the former Bulldog. Boom, throwing it down, hanging on the rim for extra emphasis. And he would go on to win the Most Improved Player Award for that season, averaging 26 and 6, up from the previous year of 15 points. Finally getting that breakout explosion of production that we've all known has been in him. Shooting 47% from behind the arc. Not a bad year. All defensive second team as well, doing it on both ends of the court. In New Orleans here, heading into the playoffs, number 1 seed, and they are upset by the Utah Jazz in round 1. Very sad for New Orleans, but they're a young team with good team getting right back in there. Fast forward to the next season, we're deep into the playoffs. Anthony Edwards is going without his running partner Zion in the NBA Finals against the Orlando Magic, against none other than Bronny James here in the 2026 NBA Finals. Going to Game 7 here, and Anthony Edwards pulls out the victory for the Pelicans, taking home the Finals MVP as well. All-around two-way player, averaging 24 points a game, shooting over 50% from the field and behind the arc. Absolutely disgusting numbers for Anthony Edwards in the NBA Finals. One of the best performances we've seen in a Game 7, helped by Matt Mooney, the undrafted guard out of Texas Tech. What a game for him, making his name out here, going up against Terrence Clark. And as we said earlier, young Bronny James here teaming up with Terrence Clark and an old Kristaps getting his points in there. But Bronny James Look at those numbers. Only 22 years of age, 87 overall in his first NBA Finals of his career. Not bad. Only averaged 17 in the playoffs, but making his father proud, I'm sure. Looking here at the updated stats for Anthony Edwards as we are getting close to the prime of his career. We're in the middle of his prime, but just getting the stat of his career up to this point post his finals MVP run and after his first ring as a member of the New Orleans Pelicans. Not a bad career so far. Career 15 points per game, but had a couple of rough seasons there in the early part of it. This man is loaded up with all the badges imaginable: 12 finishing, 8 shooting, 11 playmaking, 7 defense. He is truly an all-around player, and at 6'5", he's got enough height where he's a taller guard and he gets the job done. Same height as Kobe, but so far NBA champ, 2-time All-Star, 1-time third-team All-NBA, 2-time second-team All-Defense, a most improved player, and a second-team NBA rookie. Fast forward to the next playoff season, New Orleans back in the finals against the Orlando Magic, a rematch of the previous year, and this time it would not be close. Pelicans get the win in 5 games. Anthony Edwards winning the finals MVP again, this time only averaging 20 and 10 assists, and he would actually win the MVP the following season. So an outstanding 3-year tear for him, but unfortunately it would not lead to playoff success. They would get knocked out in the first round by Memphis again. Memphis just had their number, and this would start to be the beginning of the end. Anthony Edwards is regressing, and so is the playoff success. They would make it to the NBA Finals against the Atlanta Hawks, led by an old Trae Young, but it would not be enough as the Atlanta Hawks would beat him in 5. Trae Young, at the age of 33, winning his first ring in the league. Anthony Edwards now a 93 overall, really starting to devalue. Now he's down to an 83 following season. It's been a rough year for the New Orleans Pelicans. They're not doing so hot. As you can see, Anthony Edwards is only an 82 now at the back end of his career at the age of 38. Not much has been going on the last few seasons. NBA made a shot clock change up to 45 seconds for the shot clock, so points per game has been down across the league. Unfortunately, that may hurt Anthony Edwards' chances of getting to the top of the scoring charts among other greats. But here, going into what would be Anthony Edwards' final playoff appearance with the New Orleans Pelicans, going up against the arch nemesis Memphis. They take a game, but Memphis would go on 3-1. New Orleans battling back here, but Memphis would ultimately end the playoff career of Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards didn't even play in Game 6. The old 39-year-old vet has been run through the ringer. He's way past his prime. And in the year 2040, Bronny James calls it a career before Anthony Edwards. Kind of crazy, but here we are. And Anthony Edwards finally calls it a career at the age of 43. Man played 20 seasons, instantly put into the Hall of Fame in the year of 2044. He played over 1,500 games, averaging 16 points per game on the career. Most of that drugged down by the last few seasons. He played 1 year in Detroit. Detroit gave him a contract at the end of his career. He was pulling the Vince Carter route. But the 5-year stretch, the 5 to 8 year stretch there with the New Orleans Pelicans, he was outstanding. A career 50+% from the field, 44 from behind the arc, almost 50, 40, 90 club on the career. Absolutely outstanding there for Anthony Edwards. Finished with over 25,000 points. We'll have to see where that ranks on the updated all-times list, but over 9,000 rebounds and 9,000 assists, over 1,000 steals and blocks. Just an outstanding career for the former Bulldog, Anthony Edwards. Checking in on the NBA records, he was 44th in points, 24th in three-pointers made, 5th in games played. He was in the league for a long time. The Pelicans would retire his number 9 after spending 22 years with the franchise. No badges there to speak of at the end, but he was a 1-time MVP, 2-time NBA champion, 11-time All-Star, 2-time first-team NBA, 4-time second-team, 2-time third-team, a Defensive Player of the Year in 2034, 9-time first-team defense, 4-time second-team, most improved, and that second-team All-Rookie. What a career for Anthony Edwards. Just unbelievable. Nothing to say. But I hope you all enjoyed. This was quite the effort here to make this video, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Drop a like, subscribe for more YouTube content, and have a great rest of your day.